Morning. The 5-day Army Commanders Conference, which began in the capital on Monday, is significant for two reasons. One, the world is passing through deep disruption where chaos and wars are not ruled out. And two, India has downgraded its relations with Pakistan and ties with China are at an all-time low. So it is against this backdrop that this Army Commanders Conference is taking place. As usual, there will be a full agenda which basically would comprise of what I call a framework. And in the framework there are three elements. The first is the threats. The actual threats that the army commanders and the military leaders who will participate in this conference, they should assess, and not the assumed threats. For example, it has been said by the Prime Minister himself that the era of war is over. Based on that, I keep hearing from the military commanders, senior military commanders, that the chances of war with China and Pakistan do not exist. So I am referring to the real threats that they should assess. And the second element of the framework is, based on those threats, then what sort of a war that the Indian Army and the Indian military needs to prepare for, that should be assessed. And the third element, very important element, is to review the security environment, both at the global level as well as the regional level, because this will give an indication of whether, if and when the threats can escalate into war. So assessing this basic framework is critical, because based on this, then the army commanders will be reviewing two things. They will look at the army's modernization, again a very exhaustive plan that they have, a lot of money has been put there, and the other will be the military's structural reforms, where the Indian Army as the lead service will play a very important role. As we are aware, the most important structural reform undertaken by the Indian military is theaterization. So this is the big thing that we are looking at. So what I am planning to do is, in today's video, talk about threats only, and then take up the war and the security environment in two videos, which I will do quite fast and very soon. So as far as the threats are concerned, well, the threats are known, they are tangible. They are the two military lines, one with China and one with Pakistan. When we say a military line, what it means is that the two sides, first of all, the military line always happens as a consequence of war. And the two sides that hold the military line, they always see of the possibility of a tactical shift on the line, and that is doable without going into a war escalation. So that is the importance of a military line. It has to be held. As far as the line with Pakistan is concerned, we know it was created by the first war, which happened in 47 and finished on 1st January 49, and the ceasefire line was created. That line remains even today with a changed name and a bit of a give and take of territory. So the inference here is, since the line remains, that with all the wars that India has fought with Pakistan, it has not been able to obliterate or remove that line or decisively defeat the Pakistan military in the western sector. Now, the recent evidence of where the Indian military stands vis-a-vis Pakistan is that for the last 33 years since 1990, the Indian Army has been consumed by counter-terror operations in Jammu and Kashmir. This is only possible because, as far as the Pakistan military is concerned, they have assessed that Indian military lacks credible conventional war capabilities. It cannot launch a war, and hence they have not bothered or not cared to review their cross-border terrorism. This is the state as far as Pakistan is concerned, and this is the update on the line of control. Let's see the other line, which is the line of actual control with China. Now this is the exceptional line. As I said, all military lines are an outcome of war. This line was created for a desire for peace, which is absolutely exceptional, unusual, for the simple reasons that the Indian diplomats in 1993, when they signed the Peace and Tranquility Treaty with China under the premiership of Narasimha Rao, they simply did not understand the importance of a military line. So it was signed in 1993 because it was unusual. The PLA never bothered to hold their side of the line. It was only held by the Indian side. Things changed on the ground in April 2020 when the PLA did multi-pronged deep incursions in eastern Ladakh, and that is where, according to the media reports, today they sit on 2000 square kilometers of Indian territory. So today the situation is that the line of actual control from the Chinese point of view, from the PLA point of view, it is their habitat, it is their training area, and it is their operational base to launch attacks. A very significant thing about the two lines is that both the lines can be activated by the two adversaries which are completely in arms. They are together at short notice. In other words, as far as China is concerned, they can actually do a cold start, and so can Pakistan, because surely Pakistan has learned the lessons after the Balakot airstrike of 2019, and today they have the full air defense coverage covering all the gaps. So they are also now ready for any action or any action against India. And so this is where we stand. No, what is the thinking in the military about these threats? The two threats I just explained. First of all, the thinking is that after 5th of August 2019, the third threat, which was the instability in the valley, has disappeared. As far as the Indian military is concerned, Indian government is concerned, it is assumed that Kashmir is normalized. So it doesn't exist, the threat at all. Now, for the two lines, a very simplistic formula is there, and this is what their senior army commanders, they have said repeatedly. We heard this last from General Naravne, where when asked, he said, yes, there are two military lines, so our plan will be, the worst case scenario is a two-front war, because there are two military lines. So there is a Pakistan front, there is a China front. We will identify which is the primary front, which is the secondary front. We will focus and fight on the primary front, and we'll hold the secondary front. Once we are done with the primary front, then dual use formations, they will be shifted to fight the secondary front. This is the thinking. Well, I think this is completely, if this is what it is, and it is, then it is complete nonsensical. I think the threats that exist today is what I will say now. There are three clear theaters of war today. The first theater is, it's the theater that is about Siachen, Kashmir, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan and Ladakh. This is one theater. And in this theater, you have two armies, militaries. You have the PLA and you have the Pakistan military, which have been doing combined operations, and that is what they will do against India. And they have been exercising, building towards combined operations, both by interoperability and by interchangeability. Let me explain. Interoperability has certain elements. When we say interoperability, that means the ability of the two militaries to work together in a combat against decided targets. That is interoperability. So there is commonality of equipment now. lot of the Pakistan military equipment is actually of Chinese origin. Then there is assured operational support, very important in a war, whether it's a short war or it's a long war. And for that, we know sometimes in 2020 news came that the Pakistan military has now additional representatives in their embassy in China whose job is to ensure that the supplies, the arms supplies for a war, they remain continuous, they are not disrupted. So it is there. Third, training. We are aware that since 2012, the two air forces have been doing training under the Shaheen series, and the two special forces have been doing training every year. This is an annual exercise which is called Warrior. And obviously over the years, these exercises have advanced. And today they are actually at a level where the two sides are ready for combined operations. And the last thing is joint plans. Now joint plan, because they know what their theatre for combat is. So the joint plan in August of 2021, we got the news that today what the Pakistan Army calls liaison officer, I won't call them liaison officer, they are much more than that. Pakistan military officers today are embedded in China's Western Theatre Command as well as the Xinjiang Military Division. So what this means is that there are joint plans which are being made and which are being trained, and they are doing the training through the Shaheen and Warrior. The other aspect is what I said, interchangeability. Interchangeability basically means that the capability of the two forces to be able to operate with their assets from the soil of the other friendly nation. So it was as early as January 2012, we got the news. That time the army chief was General V.K. Singh, and he confirmed that 5,000 PLA soldiers have been spotted on the line of control with Pakistan. I'm sure lots has happened since 2012, and especially after India revoked Article 370 and 35A from Jammu and Kashmir in August of 2019. So the interchangeability exists, and Indian military should expect a lot of surprises there. So this is one theatre. The second theatre is Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim combined. This is where under the Western Theatre Command, it will be the Tibet Military Command. We'll have the PLA here in this theatre alone fighting against the Indian military. As far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, we know since August 2020, the PLA put 5G right till the edge of the area that they had come to occupy on the Indian territory. What this means is that the PLA has collected sufficient, adequate operational or training data which it will be able to use in their learning algorithms to optimize autonomy. Now let me hasten and add here, it is not that the artificial intelligence will be necessary for the PLA to defeat India. No, this will be just an added thing which will rather give them the first mover advantage in a new war against their main adversary, which is the US. Now, as far as Sikkim is concerned, we know that perhaps by the end of this month itself, when the term of the present government in Bhutan it finishes, their Prime Minister, Bhutanese Prime Minister, is very confident that the border resolution between China and Bhutan will be finished. So what this means is that the next thing the PLA would want to do is to remove, because Doklam will come to the PLA then, to China, once the border resolution is done. So they would want complete freedom of troops movement in Chumbi Valley, and hence the requirement to remove the embedded Indian army soldiers on the edge of the northern edge of the Sikkim, which overlooks the Chumbi Valley. So that will be the requirement. So this will also be their key area where they will focus. This is the second theatre. And the third theatre will be Kashmir Valley. Let's not get any wrong impression. It is a war zone. It is where the Indian army will have to fight out its way as far as the lines of communications are concerned, and it will not be an easy task. So these are the three theatres that I said. If the Indian Army Commanders Conference wishes to be honest, so this is what they should be looking at. Now the next subject is the kind of war that they should be prepared for. This I will do very soon, perhaps by tomorrow, in another video where I will discuss this under 4 heads: the complexion of war, the character of war, the nature of war, and the competing defense industrial complexes. Thank you so much.